I'm just not a morning person at all. Well, since I'm not a morning person, what I try to do is just give myself plenty of time to get up and get ready. Don't try to rush around. If I've got to be somewhere first thing in the morning, I give myself plenty of time to roll out of bed here, take my bath, wash my hair, get coffee going, and I find that that's a little easier. For so many years, I had to just rush, and I've never been a morning person, ever. People give me tips on how to become a morning person, and it just has never been helpful at all. I've just not ever been able to get out of my ways. So I find the best way is just to take my time, ease myself into the day. Part of easing myself into the day is having a nice leisurely breakfast and coffee. Here I'm getting coffee started. I haven't even eaten anything yet. Where is my breakfast? Here we go. Just going to do some yogurt first thing right now, and then I'll make some proper breakfast in a bit. I'm not sure if this is going to be enough for 1 cup or not. It looks a little shy. Yeah, that's good enough for half of a cup. What am I going to do here? I really don't like mixing coffee beans. This coffee is really good. Humboldt's Finest. Even though I'm not in Humboldt anymore, I'm drinking some of Humboldt's Finest. And it's quite good. Oh, I missed a couple of beans. It's not really going to help much. Should I make a half a cup of coffee? I could do that because I really don't like mixing beans. Hey, I missed another bean. How do I keep doing that? Is that it? It's the never-ending bag here. I think I'll make a half a cup. Just do this up quick, and then I'll make another full cup of coffee for my actual breakfast later. There's the idea. There's a bunch of things I really should be doing today. The van's a little bit of a mess, and I think it's almost time to do laundry. I try to push that as much as I possibly can, though. I think I'm right at 4 weeks since I did laundry last, which is usually when I have to do it, but I'm going to try to push it a little bit longer. See, I gotta make sure I don't put too much water in here because I didn't use the full amount of coffee beans. That was probably about 14 or 15 grams of coffee beans. I usually use about 18 to 20 grams for a mug this size, so I'm just not going to fill it up all the way. And it should be okay. Let me put all this stuff away here. And I guess this is the part of the day where I've done my easing into the day, and now I've got to get out and get moving. Oh, I need some half and half for this, don't I? There's a place I would like to go check out that I've been by several times, or driven right by several times. Is that it for that? That's it for that. And it's just out of town. It's a lighthouse. I think it's Cabrillo Lighthouse, if I remember correctly. I don't know much about it other than it's right off of Route 1 and it's just outside of town here, Fort Bragg. So might as well check it out. I have just never taken the time. So today, I'm going to do that. Yeah, that's all right. Okay, I think I am ready. I got my shoes on. I don't think I need a jacket. I should probably put a hat on. I have been wearing a hat nonstop for the last few weeks because I needed a haircut. I finally did get the haircut done. Quick got it done on a day that was supposed to be raining, but it wasn't raining. So I set up my tarp and got out my clippers and cut it, and I think it turned out okay. I was a little nervous at first. I got partway into it and thought, this is the worst haircut I've ever done so far. And then I thought, okay, just take it easy. You can fix it. And then it didn't turn out quite so bad. So yeah. And if you're a YouTube channel member or a Patreon supporter, of course, you already know I cut my hair. So this has been several days ago I cut my hair, but the rest of you are just seeing it now for the first time. But since I've been wearing a hat nonstop, I don't want to be wearing a hat anymore. So I'm going to try to go hatless for a little bit, although it's probably not going to last long. Should be a little bit warmer out today though, so hopefully I won't need it. Well, I don't remember if I mentioned it, but I'm in Fort Bragg, which is Northern California. It's a great little town here. I parked last night right next to the library. It's pretty quiet. It's a really nice neighborhood. It's just a residential neighborhood here, and really quiet and nice. So it's a good place to park, although cell service is pretty minimal here for some reason, but that's kind of the norm for most of Northern California, at least along the coast here. The other thing I always forget about until I get back here is that no matter where you park in the city, you can always hear the foghorns that are just out off the coast. And I always think that at first it's a little bit annoying because I kind of, as I'm trying to drift off into sleep, I keep hearing this faint foghorn way off in the distance. And then I remember that I grew up near railroad tracks, and those didn't bother me at all. So I think if I hung around town here much longer, I would probably get used to them. I've only been here for a little over a week and a half, I think. So I guess I'm just not used to them yet. And I do like being near the ocean. So I guess I should realize that there's going to be foghorns. Just I never remember. The Cabrillo Lighthouse is just a short drive south out of town. Just take Route 1 a few miles out of town. But before we go in that direction, I want to go in the opposite direction because I need to get some water. This is a constant thing with van life. There's two things that are constantly annoying with me, is getting rid of trash and filling up my water. And there's a few places to get water around here, but because I don't know if I can get any at the Cabrillo Lighthouse area, we'll just go over here and get some at the parking lot of Glass Beach. So we'll just make a slight detour before we head south. It's a Mercedes Metris. I always thought that would be a decent van for van life. It's just a little bit bigger than my van, not by much. But it seems like it would be a good platform, except for the fact that it is a Mercedes, and I'm not quite so sure how I feel about Mercedes. Fort Bragg is really one of the nice towns here in Northern California. People are just really friendly and outgoing, so it's a nice place to stop and just hang out for a bit. They do need tourism dollars here. It's without tourism, they would really be in trouble. And so that's the one thing I find about towns that are either friendly or not friendly in Northern California. The ones that need tourism I find are much more friendly and much more open to travelers and visitors of all kinds. It's a bit chilly outside, so I am rethinking needing the jacket. Yeah. It's still early yet. It'll probably be a pretty nice and warm day once we get a little more sun out. because it does look like we might get a little bit of sun. So Glass Beach is right down behind us here, and we stopped there last week, if you saw that. If you didn't, you can go back and watch that vlog where we went down and checked out Glass Beach, and I talked about why I don't spend a whole lot of time here, but it is a nice pretty spot. But we are here to get water, and we're actually going to get water here at this little, they call this a dynamite shack on Google Maps, but it's actually the restroom for the parking area here, and they have a little foot wash station, and I've got water out of this before. It's totally fine. You know, I have a water filter, so as long as the water looks and smells okay, I don't really care where it comes from. So one thing I always carry with me is a short piece of hose and a thing called a water bandit that screws onto the end of the hose. And that allows me to get water out of places that would be a little more difficult at times. You can see that my container, my water container here, is a little taller than the spigot. So obviously it's doable, but since I have this little water bandit, I can just put it up over the edge of the spigot here and be able to easily get water down through the hose and fill up my jug here. Now, 5 gallons of water is heavy. I think this container is actually 5.5 gallons of water. That's a lot of weight. Maybe I should have parked a little bit closer. I don't like to park too close because a lot of people just stop here just to use the public restroom. So I try to leave these spaces open so people can zip in and run into the restroom. And yeah, obviously I can buy some water. There are stores that sell water out of machines around here. The other day I bought some water at the Safeway, which is up on the other side of town. I do try to keep my mileage to a minimum though. So I bought water because I was on that side of the city and I didn't want to drive the extra few miles to get over here for free water. It just didn't make sense. But since I was over here just a few blocks away, might as well take advantage of the fact that I can get free water. I prefer this water over the reverse osmosis water too. It's just my preference. So I do occasionally buy water when I have to, but if I have to put on a bunch of miles to get free water, then it just doesn't make any sense. Okay, I got my water tank all filled up, and then I did a second trip to refill my water container, so I'm good and full. My tank here that the sink draws water out of is 7 gallons, and then my backup here is 5.5 if I fill it right up. I do have another backup tank, but I don't really feel like I need to fill them both up. Try to keep them, try to keep the weight down as much as possible, you know. So if I'm around where I can get water easily, then I don't really use that second backup tank. If I were in the desert, like if I were in Quartzsite right now, I'd have those filled up, and I actually have a water bag somebody gave me. I'd fill up that too. I'd fill up everything just because, you know, water's a little harder to get down there, but water's pretty plentiful up here. I did forget to put my cover on my heater this morning. I keep it uncovered when I think that I might need it first thing in the morning, but when I woke up this morning, I really didn't need any heat whatsoever, so I didn't use this thing. If it's all covered up, it's kind of a hassle to get it uncovered and get it turned on. I keep a bungee cord so that it holds the heater to the wall here so it doesn't flop around when I drive. So it's just kind of cumbersome to have to move all that stuff, especially in the dark, because if it's early in the morning, I don't have windows, so it's dark back here. I can't see anything. All right, cover that up because I want to make sure that I keep this in good shape. This cover doesn't quite fit this one. I think this cover is made for the other style of heater, but I could be wrong. Anyway, maybe it's the way I have it mounted, but it's covered. Now let's get on out of town. 2 quick observations. One, I probably should have made breakfast instead of just eating a little bit of yogurt because I'm really hungry. And 2, should have put the hat on. Definitely going to put a hat on before we get out and walking around because it's a little chilly with the wind. Temperature's great, but wind chill is a little bit chilly. I sure am glad I dumped my trash when I got gas last night because it's really hard to find a public trash can around the beach locations. I'm not really sure why. They're just very, very hard to find.
Take the next right onto North Main Street.
Fort Bragg here is a pretty small city, and it runs right down Route 1 here, which they call Main Street. But as I said, really nice city, lots of nice people, and there's some cool little shops and coffee shops here in town too. We're going to skip those because I made myself a pretty decent cup of coffee this morning. I think I need to pick up another bag of this Humboldt's Finest because I just enjoy it so much.
Take the next right onto Point Cabrillo Drive.
Wow, I like this already. This is very pretty out here. Look at these trees. It's just awesome. It was a little longer of a drive than I anticipated, although thinking about this, it's probably why I haven't driven out here before, just because you've got to take a bunch of little twisty, windy roads to get back here. But I've made it. Now, before I go walking though, I need to take care of my belly. I am hungry. So breakfast is going to be eggs and some potatoes. I have some potatoes that I par-cooked last night and put them in my little silicone bag here. I got these bags from IKEA. They came 3 to a set, and they were a really good deal. I'm really happy with them, although I did have one that got a little bit damaged, and so I tossed it out. But now I'm just down to the 2. But yeah, they've been a really good deal. I don't know if IKEA still sells them or not, but I'm really happy with them. If they do, I recommend them if you're looking for some reusable bags. So I'm going to put some olive oil, and probably should have waited for that pan to heat up. I'm not thinking. That'll be okay. This is a carbon steel pan, and it's very much like using a cast iron pan. You really need to heat them up first before you add anything to them. So I kind of messed that up a little bit. It'll be all right. So I've got some olive oil, and I've got a little bit of butter here too. I might as well throw that in while I'm at it. So I'll let the oil heat up a little bit, and then I'll toss in the potato and brown them off. It won't take very long because they are cooked pretty well through. They're nice and soft. Now I just want to get some color and some nice crispy texture on the outside of them. They'll be kind of like home fries. And I stopped and got some eggs last night too, so that'll be breakfast. Add a little salt to this now. And I've got the spurs to this. It's trying to get this cooked off as quick as possible because I'm hungry. And I want to get out and moving around too. So I'll prep up my eggs while I'm waiting for that. One nice thing about the stove that I have is it's 15,000 BTU. So if I want to get some power going, it's pretty easy. I just turn the thing right up and let it go. And because I'm using this carbon steel pan, it can definitely take the heat. It's not an issue whatsoever. I overcooked those eggs a little bit. That's what I get for being in a hurry. I'm going to add a little cheddar on these. I'll let that melt, and I'll get to cleaning off my pan here, because if there's one thing I've learned about these carbon steel pans is you got to clean them as quickly as possible. And if you wait on cleaning these pans out, stuff will stick to them and it'll be just a real mess. But if you clean them as soon as you're done cooking, they clean up really easily. Let's see, I need some yellowbird. There you go. I'm going to do some jalapeno today. And then for the potatoes, I'm going to add a little bit of the spike seasoning. I really like this stuff, especially on potatoes. It's really good on eggs too. I guess I should just put a little bit on everything, shouldn't I? Yeah, there we go. This is a mixture of salt and a bunch of dried herbs and vegetables, so really tasty stuff. Well, breakfast was extra enjoyable because I was extra hungry. Now, I need to wash up my dishes here, and one of the ways that I keep my water usage down is I use vinegar, and I just have an old spray bottle, and this is just regular white vinegar. I just buy the cheapest stuff I can find, usually at grocery outlet because they have the best price, and then I just do a few sprays and wipe it off with a paper towel. This is something that I avoided doing for years when I first started living out of the van, because I always thought, I've got a sink with running water and I can just use soap and water to wash my dishes. But in the early years, I had access to water a lot easier than I do now, nowadays anyway. So that worked, but it's kind of wasteful, I think. And with just a little bit of vinegar, I can not only get my dishes clean, but it disinfects them at the same time. So once I switched to this and realized that this was a much better method, I've been doing this ever since. There are a few things that I do use soap and water on. Like I don't use the vinegar on my carbon steel pan. Although, you know, you can if you really needed to, but I just find that it's not necessary most of the time. I actually use some soap and water on my carbon steel pan if it's needed. I mean, I very rarely do. I usually just clean that with water, and it's hot water because I wash it directly off of the stove. So I put water in it, it's immediately boiling, and give it a good scrub. But whatever I need to do to keep my dishes disinfected and clean is what I do. So if you do have a carbon steel pan, or if you're thinking about getting one, as long as your seasoning is good on the carbon steel pan, you can do all those things that people tell you that you're not supposed to do, like using tomato sauce in them. You can actually do that. I cook tomato sauce all the time in mine. It doesn't affect the seasoning whatsoever. But yeah, there's a lot of little things that people tell you that you should do and that you shouldn't do. But over time, you realize all the things that you can kind of get away with and that work the best for you. And this has definitely been one of those things that works better for me, is using the vinegar trick. Hey, look, I'm remembering to take my vitamins. I always forget to take these. I was actually thinking about going to the dollar store and buying one of those little pill boxes that have the little days of the week and just putting them in there. Because sometimes I think, did I take them today already? Did I take them yesterday? I can't remember. I don't know why. If I take these things, I feel so much better. If I don't, I feel just terrible. So you would think that I wouldn't have an issue remembering to take them, but I do anyway. I'm getting old. Okay, I think we're ready to go. I just need to put a toque on, keep my head warm since I've chopped all my hair off now. This has been my favorite one. This is the most recent one I bought, and I think it is now my absolute favorite. Although I don't really like the cuffs on it on warmer days, I don't need the extra covering on my ears. I kind of like this one here. It's kind of a little bucket style where there's no cuff. It just is easier. But this one's just so much more comfortable. Okay, I don't know if I actually need this heavy jacket either, but we'll go with it because I'd rather be a little bit too warm than too cold. Oh, I forgot to make coffee too, didn't I? What is wrong with me? Forgetting to make coffee, forgetting to take my vitamins. So from what little I know about Point Cabrillo here, this is the main parking lot. There are a couple of other parking lots up ahead, but I believe they are reserved for people with disability placards. So there's a little sign here. I'm hoping it will give us all the details. And it does. There's a little map that shows us where we are and the little trail down to the lighthouse and beyond. And they've got it marked pretty well here that this road is mostly for pedestrians, but apparently there's vacation rentals out here and volunteers, which is probably why I was watching a bunch of cars and trucks driving out here while I was eating my breakfast. I almost stopped here, but then I realized I'm not a vehicle. Pretty sure I can just walk right on by. Could be wrong. Well, I didn't go inside the lighthouse, but it was really cool to get up and close to it. I need to do a better job of checking out lighthouses instead of just driving past them. I don't know how many times I've driven past this one over the years. Nice to get it checked off my list. I think we'll take the trail around because there's a couple of trails here. Might as well walk since it's pretty nice out, and it's also incredibly beautiful out here. Had to stop to marvel at the color of the water down there, but I'm a bit uneasy because this is a sheer cliff. Drops straight down, and it's just a few feet off the edge of the trail. Very cool, but also a bit unnerving. Well, often when I'm out and about taking my nightly walk, I talk to people, and most of the time I'm meeting new people every day. But every now and then, if I'm in an area for a length of time, I meet the same people over and over again. And lately there's this lady that takes her walk at the same time as me, and we tend to walk in the same areas every night. And she's been telling me some interesting things. It's kind of cool to actually get to know somebody a little bit, and then, you know, your conversations are not just about meaningless weather and that kind of thing. Although she keeps trying to talk about politics, and then I have to steer the conversation away from that, and I'm not interested. She's finally caught on to that now. But the other night, didn't see her last night, but the other night she was telling me about this cove behind us here, except not really. She was telling me about the story of a ship named Frolic that crashed along the coast here. And this started because I had told her that I hadn't been out here to Point Cabrillo, and I wanted to see the lighthouse, and she was telling me, oh, you definitely need to go. And so she was giving me the story about the cove here, and I'm not exactly sure if the cove was named after the ship I believe it was because now that I'm here, there's a little signage here that tells the story, a little part of the story about the ship named Frolic, and it crashed here, and it had a bunch of stuff that got picked up by the First Nations tribe here, the Pomo people, and there's a whole bit of legend. I don't know if all of it is true, but I'm just reading the story here, so I'm glad to know that at least I think from the sign here that this cove was named after the ship Frolic that crashed. I believe everybody made it out alive. I'm not exactly sure. Interesting story nonetheless, and definitely a very, very nice place to take a hike around. Would you look at this? I walked a little bit farther trying to get a view of the beach, and it's a little waterfall. How cool is that? How cool is that? That is just awesome. So my thought process here was I would walk out and check out this Frolic Beach and Frolic Cove, and then walk back to the van via the small walking trail instead of the road that we walked in on. Now, the one problem with this is I have absolutely no sense of direction. So I was hoping that this little sign that I could see off in the distance would be a map to tell me which way to go. It's not. It's not helpful. So we're just gonna go this way. I think this is the right way. I got a quick answer to that, because up ahead there, just slightly off to the right, is the lighthouse. So this is the right way. We'll just go up here, hang a left, and then that should take us back to the van. I hope, anyway. I'm pretty certain. Fairly confident. Little bit confident, mostly, slightly. This worked out well. This is a much better hiking trail to walk on. It's an actual trail instead of a road. So I like this. This is a good idea. I learned this from a friend long ago. Whenever she would hike somewhere, she would never be able to take the same way back that she walked out. So sometimes we'd end up in the big, huge, longer hike than we would have anticipated taking. But that, she would not back down on that. She always had to take a different route back. It's good in some ways. Other ways, sometimes I just want to get back because I'm thirsty or hungry or something like that. And talking about that, I've been out here for a couple of hours now. It's about lunchtime, I think. Well, at no point did I need this jacket. I probably could have taken it off and tied it around my waist, but it always reminds me of a time back when I was 4 years old. So I don't like to do that because I'm not 4 anymore. Well, we're not going to talk about that anymore, are we? Yeah, so I need some water, and should I get lunch started or should we go someplace else? This is such a nice, peaceful place. Maybe I'll just make some lunch right here, right? Yes. Now, I'm not really very hungry, but I should probably make just a light little lunch, shouldn't I? I think I'm going to make a burger here because I have one piece of sourdough left, and it's actually a little bit stale, so I guess I should eat it. I'll just toast it up here, and then that'll fix the staleness part of it. It'll be fine. I don't have any barbecue sauce, but luckily I do have Yellowbird jalapeno. I'm glad I bought this the other day. How did I buy this 2 weeks ago? And I'm 2/3 of the way through it. I'm gonna need another bottle soon, aren't I? I think I need another bottle, of Serrano too. Yeah, it's the simple things that make life enjoyable, and coffee and Yellowbird are the two simple things for me. So I've got a little bit of ground beef here, so I guess I'll just let that sit while I toast up my bread. Well, here's one little issue I have. from time to time. You can see my flame dancing around. It's because I have the back doors and the side door open. It's just a little bit too windy for the stove. I did put that backsplash in as kind of a windbreak, and I don't really want to put another one in. You know, people have suggested it, but it would really kind of get in the way, and there's not really a place to put one on the other side. So in cases like this, I just close this door. It's not a big deal. I don't have to do it all the time, and sometimes I can just close the door part way. Actually, that's good. So I still got plenty of air movement in here, but the flame's actually doing its job of heating the pan instead of just dancing around wildly. And here's lunch. I did just a real light toast on the bread because it was already a little bit dried out. I didn't want a sourdough cracker, wanted to keep it a little more bread-like. And then I added some mayonnaise, some cheddar cheese, and some chopped up red cabbage. And oh, I need a little more jalapeno sauce on this, don't I? I put a little bit on the bottom. Just gonna dress some on top here too, because the cabbage will need it. And there we go. I wasn't really all that hungry, but now looking at this, I'm getting there. It's not going to be the easiest burger to eat, is it? Okay, washing up my dishes here. And the one thing that I didn't mention about this, using the vinegar to wash dishes, is which is the more important thing to cut back on? Is it water or is it paper towel? Because you do use a lot of paper towel. That's the one drawback. And I go back and forth on that sometimes. Back when I was traveling around Arizona, the answer was pretty simple. It was be more stingy with water than paper towel, because I could get paper towels pretty much anywhere, where water was a lot harder to find. Now, around the Pacific Northwest and Northern California, where I normally hang out, these days, water's much easier to find. You know, if I needed to, I could just go to a little creek and get water with a bucket, and I can run it through my water filter, and it's good to go. I would be clogging up my water filter really quickly, but it's, the water's there. So that's kind of been my thinking the last, little while here, that I've been kind of hanging around a more water available area, is who cares about the paper towels? I can get those pretty much anywhere. But yeah, it does bother me to be using a lot of paper towel. Just the one little thing I thought I'd mention. Just one other thing that I probably should have mentioned is that this is not a problem that needs to be solved. This is just something that I mentioned because it's a slight difference between living out of a van and living a more traditional way of living. So for instance, this is a non-issue back when I had a house, because when I had a house, I had a washer and dryer. They were right outside the back door, and I just washed and dried everything. I didn't buy paper towels. I had kitchen towels. I had a big stack of kitchen towels that I would use for everything. I didn't have a need for paper towels, which was really cool. Now, I was using a lot of water and energy to wash and dry those towels instead of buying paper towels. But in my mind back then, it was better to do it that way. Now, because my situation is different, and again, not something that needs to be solved or fixed, it's just a different situation. And so nowadays, I would much prefer to use the paper towels because they're the easier option for me. That's just one thing I should just point out. And a lot of times people are trying to solve all the problems in my life, and I don't really have any problems. I just have a little slightly different way of looking at things because of my living arrangements. This might sound like a complaint. I don't mean it as a complaint. It's more of an observation. But it's been really rainy here off and on the last several days, and so I have switched to my backup shoes. My regular shoes these days are these barefoot shoes. So these are from a company called Wildling. It's a small German company, and I really like these shoes. They are made out of felted wool inside and out, and I just recently put some new insoles in them that I bought. I found these at a Tractor Supply, and I was able to just cut them to fit the kind of unusual shape and size of these barefoot shoes. I was surprised about that because these barefoot shoes have a really wide toe box. So I was surprised that I was able to actually find an insole that I would be able to get the right size to fit. But anyway, those insoles have really worked out well too. They're a bit warmer than the insoles that I had bought from Wildling. So they've been a slight improvement. But the issue with these is because they're all wool, they get really sopping wet and they don't want to dry out. And so I've kind of thought about buying a hair dryer or a little heat gun. I've been wanting a heat gun because I use a lot of shrink tubing, when I'm doing electrical stuff. And I've got some electrical work that I need to get started here soon. And so I was thinking, I could just buy a little heat gun and maybe that, I can use that to dry these off. But probably a better idea is to just use my backup shoes, which is what I did today. So my backup shoes are these Ultra Lone Peak, and these are a hiking and backpacking shoe, and I guess trail runners use them too. And these are my second pair of Ultra Lone Peak shoes, and the first pair I thought were the best shoes I've ever had. I still think that the first pair of these are still, I consider to be the best shoe I've ever had. And when they wore out, of course, I just bought another pair. And these are the updated version. I think they updated them twice by the time I wore the original pair out that I had. And not been very happy with these. They have worn a lot quicker. The lugs on the soles have worn down a lot faster than I expected, faster than the old pair that I had. But the big problem I've had with these is they stiffened up the sole of these. So they put a heavier duty shank in them, and then they also stiffened up the entire sole. So they don't bend quite as easily as the previous pair I had. And most of the people that buy these shoes have thought that that's a big improvement because they are using them for backpacking, and they've got a lot of weight on their back, and so they like that extra stiff sole. I don't like that. It was not an improvement as far as I'm concerned, and so I've not been so happy with these. But they are better for wetter weather because they dry out a lot faster. They're all synthetic, and so they dry out really quick. I just take the insole out and I don't really need to do anything special to them. They just dry out on their own. They're a great summer shoe, but they are a terrible winter shoe because they're just really light and airy and breezy, and my feet freeze in these. So I do prefer my new wool shoes, the Wildlings here, because they are a winter shoe. They don't necessarily have any insulation other than they are made of 2 layers of felted wool. So these are great in the wintertime. Probably wouldn't be able to wear these in the summer, but I do have another pair of these that are made out of a different, lighter material, and they have the same sole to them so that they're really flexible. And this is the big key to me. When I switched to the Ultra Lone Peaks, it was because I wanted to have a 0 drop shoe, that meaning that the sole and the forefoot are on the same plane. They don't have a heel to them, and that's one thing that I've found really helps. I have a medical problem and in my ears, and it does cause me to be off balance from time to time. But the one thing that I found really helps is if I am not wearing a shoe that has a heel. If I have a shoe that has a heel, I have balance issues. If I wear a 0 drop shoe, I have no balance issues whatsoever. And it's an issue that's caused by my health problem. But these zero drop shoes have solved the problem. So I'm sold on them for that. But the big thing that I've found when I switched to the Wildling shoes is the more flexible, thinner flexible sole means that they are much more comfortable for me to wear all day long. So like my feet are really hurting me at the moment because of walking for a couple of hours in the more stiffer shoe that I have here with the Lone Peaks. So I do like having these for the wet weather. I'm happy that I have a good pair of shoes that I can wear when I can't wear my more preferred shoe, but I do kind of pay for it when I do wear something other than these Wildlings. My feet just hurt like crazy. So I think for the rest of the day, I'm going to put the Wildlings back on. That'll solve the issue. I'm a little bit surprised. I just went over and used the restroom here, which I assumed was going to be a pit toilet, like a lot of the other little parks around this area, but it was actually a real flush toilet and running water, and it was clean, nice, kind of surprised. This has been a really nice place. Oftentimes with places that I skip over, by the time I actually get there, then I'm kind of kicking myself. Why didn't I just go there the first time I noticed it instead of passing it up? This is one of those places. But it's probably getting about time to go. I used up the last of my bread, and while I'm not going to need any bread for dinner tonight, I think I will need some for tomorrow. So I think I want to get back into town and do some shopping. I've been spending way too much money on food lately. I'm not real excited about going shopping again today, but I'm going to be hungry tomorrow, so I guess I might as well just do it. So these days my favorite place to be is Humboldt County, which is the next county north of where we're at right now. We're in Mendocino County, and Humboldt County is just a bit north of here. They're very similar in a lot of ways, but the coastline is slightly different, and they're both places I really enjoy. I always say that Mendocino is my second favorite place to be, and the only reason it's my second favorite is that food options are a little more expensive here, and there's fewer grocery stores and fewer of the type of places that I would normally shop at, which I had just a ton of choice of places to shop at in Humboldt, and prices were quite a bit less than they were down here. So that's the only reason why I like Humboldt and prefer Humboldt over Mendocino. In a lot of ways, I like the coastline a little bit better down here, but they're both pretty awesome places. So of all the food choices that I have to pick from around here, my preference is for this one, which is Harvest Market. There's a Safeway here, and there's also some Mexican markets and a little tiny health food store that is really tiny, but it's pretty well stocked. But price-wise and option-wise, this is the place I'm going to shop at. I don't care for Safeway, and that's the biggest market here in town, so I try to stay out of that, just avoid that. But this is a good little market. They have two locations. This is the full-size one. They also have a little tiny market in Mendocino, just a few miles farther south from where we spent the day today. Good little market here, but as far as options and prices and everything, Humboldt has Mendocino beat by a mile. So I'm going to grit my teeth here and go buy some bread and maybe not much else. It's really getting chilly outside. I put my jacket on before I went into the store, and I was glad that I did. So I bought some bread. This is from the same company that I had last time, or that I was eating for lunch anyway. I never had this before recently, and it's really good. Just some sourdough. Great for sandwiches. And because I have no self-control when I go into a grocery store. I bought another bag of coffee. This is some of that coffee that I just ran out of this morning. Humboldt's Finest from Humboldt Bay Coffee Company. Wrong county, so I'm not practicing what I preach when I say to buy coffee in your area, but this is so good that I just want to keep a little bit more of it around. I do have a bunch of coffee from the area. I'm working on some decaf, of course, that is from, actually, is this from the area? Is it from the area? Now I'm thinking this is from Shasta. I don't remember where this is from. I'll have to figure that out. Maybe I'm just messing up all the way around. But yeah, normally I buy coffee where where I'm from, you know, support the local coffee roasters. Oh, and then I did buy a bag of chips. I need to get off of these things, but I'm probably going to be stuck in the van. I've got a bunch of work to do in the van tomorrow, and it's supposed to rain all day tomorrow too, so I'm going to want snacky stuff. Yeah, there we go. There's the problem with me going into a grocery store. I just spend way too much money, more than I need to. I kind of wish I could give up eating for a little while and save a little bit of money. It's probably not going to work out quite so well, so I guess it's okay to keep buying groceries every few days. Let's go over to the headlands. There's a little protected park area, and it's just across the bridge and out onto a nice big overlook, so we can make a little dinner out there. Or maybe I'll just make some coffee and save eating for tomorrow. That'll save some money, right? Oh no, we already decided that's not a good idea. So this is the Noyo Headlands, and really cool spot out here. I think it's open until 9 o'clock. Well, the signs out here at the edge of the parking lot are saying that the park is closed at dusk and opens at dawn. So maybe this will be a short little walk out here. Although there's a bunch of people out in the parking lot and they don't seem too concerned, but it does say $500 fine. And there are gates out at the entrance. So that always kind of worries me a little bit. I actually did get stuck one time in a state park in Seattle, just outside of Seattle. They closed the gates, and then you'd have to call a towing company, and it was a little bit like extortion. They would tell you if you want to get out, it was like $60 to let you out. So the guy would stand there, the tow truck driver would stand there, you'd pay him, and then he'd let you out the gate, and then quickly lock the gate for the next person. There was a lot of mad people that night, and ever since then I've always been a little bit careful when I see gates that are lockable, and fines and things like that. I don't want to have that happen again. But this is, after all, nice and friendly California, so maybe they wouldn't do that down here. It's getting to be a little bit dark to try to point things out, but off in the distance there is the Noyo Bridge that we just drove over to get here. And we were just over at the other side there at the store. And then that is the Noyo River that empties right out into the ocean there below. Really beautiful out here, not that you can tell. You can probably hear the foghorn. I think this morning I started off complaining about the foghorn, and we get another close-up sound of it here right now. It's getting chilly enough. I need to zip up my jacket. All right, one little quick walk over here and then we're done. Is this a good idea? You don't know why I'm saying this. Right straight ahead here is a big, huge sinkhole, and it's a little hard to get down to it. It kind of freaks me out a little bit because basically when you're standing at the edge here, you're kind of standing with nothing underneath you in certain spots. Let me go around to the other side. I think we can get a better look at it. Although, again, this does freak me out a little bit. I don't like heights. See, this is why this freaks me out. See, that says it all right there. We'll get a little view of it here. See that? Really cool. Let's go around. If I go around here, I think I can get an even better look at it. Okay, I didn't think this through because I took off my other shoes that are better for this kind of walking. I just have my barefoot shoes on now that are a little bit slippery on this kind of stuff. Let's see what happens. I'm sure it's perfectly safe. Oh, see, the last time I was down here, it was all muddy. Now it's not muddy, so I'm not having any problem this time. Not any problem walking, but I am having a little bit of an issue with the big steep drop-off. Okay, that's all you get. That's as close as I want to get to the edge, and as long as I want to stand there at the edge. It is cool though to get to peer down in there. The sound is really awesome too. You probably not going to be able to hear it quite so well just off of the microphone, but very, very cool spots. And it's very pretty out here, but you'll have to take my word for it because it's just getting to be a little bit too dark to be able to just see this on the camera. Well, this is very cool, but I do not want to risk getting a ticket. So I'll just get back to the van here and mosey on down the road. So it's probably a good time just to go find a place to park for the night since it's getting dark. And that way I can just make some dinner and coffee then and not have to worry about finding a parking spot later. Now, I parked all around Fort Bragg here, and I know the city fairly well, but I usually park on the other side of the city. But one of the things I've been doing the last several months is I just try to keep my mileage down as much as I can. So I'm not even going to try to bother to drive over to the other side of the city. I'll just take a look at Google Maps, and I just look for usually apartment complexes or just a nice residential area where I can park somewhere over here. And there should be a place not too far away, so don't want to drive more than a few blocks. You're probably going to make fun of me here. I can't wait to read the comments on this one. I'm going to make a stir fry. That's not a bad thing, of course. I've got some more of that ground beef. I'll use a little bit of this, and I've got some of that cabbage that I had chopped up, and I need to use it up because I chopped this up a couple of days ago, so I want to use that up, so I'll throw that in the stir fry. And then this is the part where you're probably going to get after me. Every once in a while I will use a bag of pre-cooked rice. I know, craziness, absolute utter craziness, but it's great to have on hand because if you want a stir fry just out of the blue, you can't just cook up some rice and make a stir fry. You need to have it cold and kind of dried out, which is what this is. It's like perfect for stir fry, just straight out of the package. So do that. And I have a little concern about this because I ran out of soy sauce, and there's a brand that I like, and it's an organic brand. I usually buy the ones that are made in Japan. Forget the name of that one. Oh, maybe it's Sanjay. And I'm probably mispronouncing that, but I bought a bottle of Kikkoman because it was available. I think I've used this twice, and both times I woke up the next day with a migraine. Not really sure if it had something to do with the Kikkoman. It's the only thing I can think of. And food does give me migraines. It's things I'm not supposed to eat. You know, I'm not really supposed to have soy sauce, but I do occasionally. So we'll see how this goes. So no ribbing me, please, for using pre-cooked rice, because I may wake up, with a splitting headache tomorrow. I tell you one thing, if I wake up with a headache or a migraine tomorrow, I'm tossing this Kikkoman out, because that's it. It's baseball. I don't watch baseball, but I agree with the 3 strikes and you're out thing. Okay, I'm going to get this pan ripping hot, and then I am going to use some olive oil to stir fry in. I'm breaking all the rules. Actually, there are no rules. You are the chef in your kitchen, so use whatever you got. I could dig out some coconut oil, but I need to finish this bottle off. The top doesn't seal anymore, so it's been driving me a little bit crazy, and I've been a little bit worried that it's going to tip over and spill, so I've been trying to use it up. One of the other reasons I'm doing stir fry tonight. Some cilantro would be really good right now. Yes, I am one of those people that likes cilantro, but I don't have any. So this is going to have to do it. All right, that cleaned up just fine. My seasoning needs a little bit of work. You can see it's a little dull there. One of these days I'm going to have to strip this out and redo the seasoning on it, but it's actually still pretty good. I forgot one of the great ingredients here, some black pepper. So I'm going to add some black pepper here because it's not quite right. And just add a tiny touch of pepper. Yeah, I washed up the dishes and decided to spare you having to see that again for the 3rd time today. But did wash up the dishes just like normal, and now I've got the kettle on so I can make some coffee, AeroPress coffee, of course. And I'm going to grind up some of this Black Oak Canopy Roast decaf blend. Might as well go with the decaf because that's what I've got. Although it's really hard not to open up that new bag of coffee I just bought. What was that? Humboldt's Finest. That's some good stuff. But it is nighttime, so I should just pretend to be like a normal person and drink decaf, right? So I didn't use chopsticks to eat my dinner, but I am going to use a chopstick to stir my coffee. This is like the perfect stir stick, I think, for an AeroPress. I don't like the little stir that came with the AeroPress. I don't use it. In fact, I might have even thrown it out. It's just a little too big and bulky, and I don't really have a place to put it where it will kind of stand up, but the chopstick just kind of sits up here. I have a little steaming pitcher that I keep up here. I use this occasionally for things, but it usually just sits up there as its little holding area. Oh, here I'm talking, I'm forgetting what I'm doing already. Seems to be a theme of forgetfulness today, isn't there? I'm really not that forgetful, but when I'm trying to talk to you and do all the other things, like walk and chew gum, it just gets hard, Well, today was a pretty typical day for me, except that I did drive a little bit more than I normally do. I was doing some figuring yesterday, and I was looking at the total mileage over the last 8 days. I've driven less than 30 miles over the last 8 days, and it's one of the reasons I like being in Mendocino County here. It seems like the places that I hang out around here, I can really keep my miles down. If I'm going to go out, like and park at the Headlands where we went just a little bit there after the store, and then if I want to go to the store to buy something, it's just, it's just a couple of miles, and then just a couple blocks away is a place to park at night. So it really does help me keep my mileage down, even if I did drive quite a bit more today than I normally do. But yeah, it's just a great place to be. Food prices are a little expensive. Gas, of course, is not the cheapest here either, but all in all, if I can keep my mileage down, it does really help with everything else. So just a great place to be. I just really enjoy it here. I mean, it's just so beautiful. And I mean, it was very close to 60 degrees today. Here we are in January and it's almost 60 degrees. So just like the perfect weather as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, the weather's usually pretty nice here. It's not unusual at all. Even in the summertime, it just never gets hot. In the winter here, obviously never gets cold. Just a great place. So I guess that's it. This is a typical but non-typical day. Probably if I didn't have you with me, I wouldn't have driven out to the lighthouse, and I'm glad I did. You know, it's one of the nice things to be able to get out and see the sights around. I'll definitely go back there in the future. It's definitely worth the little drive out. But I am tired, so I'm going to enjoy my dessert and hop into bed. I guess I'm already in bed, aren't I? I guess just lay down. Anyway, thanks for watching tonight. I really appreciate it.